Hey, I'm so excited to have you on the pod because I love what you're up to. I love your spirit about your business and what you have going on. It's not just about creating a great product, it's about really being ahead of the curve. And I know that's something that you and I have discussed. What are some of the things that, kind of what inspired you to do this, man? Because like it's that whole founder's journey. I always say to people, I'm like, you could do anything with your time. Why do this? So like, what grabbed you about making rum and specifically doing it in Hawaii, which frankly I had never heard about until I came across your brand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I don't know I mean, how much time how many minutes can I have in each rabbit hole?
As much as you want, I'll bring you back.
So I would say that I look at things at very, very, very big picture where everything's almost the exact same thing to me. And the only thing that kind of swaps out are nouns, but the actions are and I've actually reduced it to about 5 verbs, period. So the point of that is I'm always just seeing these patterns and for example, when I see a problem, and I think most entrepreneurs are wired the same way. A problem is like when you see a problem, it's like this thing on the ground. It's like somebody dropped $100 bill that nobody else trusts and they all walk around it and they call it a problem. But really it's this massive opportunity. And problems and opportunities are exactly the same thing. And the only difference between a problem and opportunity is the problem is the opportunity that nobody's picked up yet. And so I just like the problem that we discovered accidentally when we were sailing around in the Caribbean. We were on a catamaran and we are sort of escaping what we thought was going to be a big housing crisis in the mid 2000s, and it turned out we were right. And we went to a sugarcane farm on Martinique, which normally wouldn't be that interesting for us because we're from Hawaii, and I'm born in sugarcane fields. So, but part of that is we went and tried some rum that they were making from that fresh sugarcane juice, and I tried it. I'm just like, what is this? And they're like, oh, this is rum made from fresh sugarcane juice. And I'm like, how come I've never had it? And he's like, because you're an American. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm from Hawaii. He's like, yeah. He's like, you Americans like colors, flavors, sugars in all your rum. So I looked at my wife and I'm like, this stuff's amazing. And so the problem I saw it immediately as an opportunity, but the problem is that rum is allowed to be adulterated, and most rum is made adulterated. Meaning you can add 2.5% by volume, colors, flavors, sugars. So the smart way to make rum, if you're taking a business course, is to start with a very light spirit that doesn't have any flavors. It means it's been stripped out technically 1 percentage point away from vodka. And then you put in whatever you want to put in order to make whatever rum you want to make. And that's where gold rum came right. So gold rum is just this near vodka that has gold coloring in it. And dark rum
Wow.
has dark coloring in it plus sugar to give it some heavy syrup feel. And then there's coconut and all the other things. And so that's kind of what rum has become. And because the sugarcane only grows in the equator, the Caribbean is the main source of rum, so we make it their style. So, but the French, being the French, are making it from fresh juice. And I tried this, and I'm like, this stuff's extraordinary. So I looked at my wife and I said, we got to move back to Hawaii and start a rum distillery. Like this is, I felt like what's his name, Howard Schultz.
Yeah.
Like he realized nobody in America knew what espresso or espresso based drinks were in the 70s. He's just like,
Right.
this is crazy. Like, how can these people be drinking this drip stuff coffee thinking that they're getting good stuff, And so that was the opportunity. And that's sort of we had no intention that morning of ever doing anything in the spirits world ever, except going to bars. Honestly. Like zero intention.
I feel like that happens so often
Yep.
in the entrepreneurial space where you end up on a path that it wasn't like you plotted it. You know what I mean? It was like it just came to be. Um, I think that one of the things that, I've gotten in our conversations too, Steve, is that you continually follow your curiosity. I mean, that's part of that story even. So I'm curious, how has that following your curiosity, just going to the next right thing, how has that been something that's been really beneficial in your business endeavor, with rum in particular?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let me sort of I can't help but think of this analogy is remember when you were a kid, and hopefully even after you were a kid, when a neighbor turned left their hose on and it was running down the street. And at some point, a bunch of the kids got together and started playing with this sort of river of water, right? Maybe it's just you and your cousin or your brother, or your sister, or whoever. But, you'll dam it up or you'll build little bridges or you'll build a boat or, you'll try and figure out where it's what going and, so there's all these different things. And depending on who you are, I think you kind of everybody reveals who they're going to be in that moment and who they are in that moment. And so some people want to stop it, and some people want to control it, and some people want to see if they can build a boat they can travel in it, and some people want to see if they can disrupt the person behind them with this big, wave that comes crashing down and ruins their bridge, right? And some people want to help somebody else build their bridge and make it even better. I was always the guy that wanted to be at the very face of it, where that edge of the water and is right in between where it's gonna happen and it hasn't happened. And I wanted to see every single time what was gonna happen. And you
Mm.
can kinda look and see probably what's gonna happen. You can see the inertia of this thing. You can see that 3 people have bridges that are about to collapse or dams that are about to collapse, so it's gonna come heavy. And then you kind of look down and you see this unsuspecting dry rock that has no idea that its whole world is about to get changed. And so that is the part that's interesting to me. So I I mean, that's why we were on a boat in the Caribbean. Like, what are you doing in a boat in the Caribbean when you know a housing crisis is going to hit, right? I mean, for most people, that doesn't make sense. But for me, it makes perfect sense because
Right.
why do you want to be there and get flooded? Let's go somewhere else and see what see what opportunities arise from it. So without realizing, we were looking for opportunities and we were trying to figure out, what is this thing that's going to happen? And so we found a thing. We found a little rivulet that was happening, and we were intrigued by it. And so that's kind of my job here is to continue, and the theme behind it was is that people are striving for excellence. And I think as the world gets more educated and more connected, the common theme is that people just want stuff that's good and they want it that's honest and they want something that's thoughtful. And I realized at that moment that that was the opportunity is it's like the reason why rum isn't great is because people have been making it the way they've been making it for a really long time. And there's pirates and there's parrots and there's all these things that people maybe probably wouldn't put on your label today, the plantation
Yep.
era. And, it's like, but whatever, it's cool. Like, and so we're just like, no, it's just like, let's start from scratch. If you're going to take this category and like build it as epically as possible, how would you do that? So we're like, well, you got to move to some place where sugarcane came from, which was Hawaii, right? The Hawaiians were the ones that brought sugarcane to Hawaii 1,000 years ago as canoe plants. They developed these plants for thousands of years and shared them throughout the Pacific. So that's where you got to start.
Yeah.
The Caribbean was planted with a single plant of the sugarcane, so that's cool. But let's go to the home of where it is, and then let's take these thoughts and these ideals where resources really matter and just try and make the best possible version of the spirit that could ever be made. So that's my job here to answer your question is to make sure everybody's stoked with that vision and that we that I've set it up so it's easy to make the right choices instead of difficult to fight for what we think is right.
Yeah, I there's so much to unpack there, Steve, that I love. Like one of the things that I've got a question for you about, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's hard to stand out in an industry with multi-billion-dollar brands that are pushing all the time with advertising in every location across people's dashboard, right? I mean, whether it's
Right.
a streaming service or linear TV or online or doesn't matter. They're constantly being inundated with messages to drink something different than a small craft rum that's not owned by a huge conglomerate. And yet you're having success gaining ground. And I know that for a lot of people that listen to this, they're either really large brands or they're really small brands that are trying to break into this space. And I know you're having a lot of success. I know that quality of ingredients and quality of product are something that you've really honed in on. In addition to that, what have you done to stand out in this very crowded space with people that have more resources than you?
Yeah, that I mean, that is the right question, right? That's the challenge. And the point is it's not either big business or small craft, right? So it I think people are naturally binary and we can't help
Sure.
to be binary. And I don't think it's like a coincidence that we have a right side and a left side. And so I think we just think that way. Um, but number one is don't make it binary. Like there's no reason why this small craft thing can't actually be a big thing. The point is it's about the choices you make. And so it's about why you made those choices, right? It's the why, not the what. Apple did a really good job of that. Apple came out with computers and they didn't compete against how many megahertz the processor was or how much storage or RAM or hard drives, right? Because that's how you sold a computer for. Dell and Gateway were slugging each other over the head with, I got a 1 terabyte hard drive. Well, I got, 640. Great. Apple came out and said, you know what? We're going to give you a tool that's going to allow you to be the best version of you. Like, who
Right.
doesn't want that?
Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
so the point is it doesn't matter whether you're small or big. What matters is are you actually thinking about your customers first? Are you actually trying to solve their problems rather than them trying to solve your problems? And that's what marketing often does is it tries to convince them to solve your problem. And so and thinking about all this because I used to be a business reporter for a long time, and I got to interview some of the smartest people in the world and think about things from their points of view a lot. And a lot of this stuff stuck with me. And then I was also born and raised in Hawaii, and I see the conflict of we got this cool stuff that we don't want people to ruin, but people want to come here and check it out, and we need their money because how do you not again it's this polar situation, binary situation. So the point is I boil it down to in the Western culture, capitalism, easy choice, hard life. You make the easy choice, you do the right thing. You start with the easy thing, and then as you grow, you build your resources, and then it's hard life, because you have to sit there and sort of defend it or fight against other companies or claim market share or you know come up with new reasons to do things or solve problems or whatever. But what people in Hawaii naturally do, and this is the big difference, is the opposite. So culturally, what people do in Hawaii is hard choice, easy life. So they naturally just make the hard choice in the beginning because that's the thing you have to do. And then the rest of it looks so easy that people confuse that easiness with laziness or stupidity or ignorance or whatever. And so if some developer comes and says, "Do you realize that you guys are sitting on a 3 million or $8 million parcel and we could sell this and you guys could have all the money you'd ever want and we could build a strip mall here and there could be Starbucks and whatever." I mean, naturally, like who wouldn't want to do that, right? That's the easy choice. But then hard life. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? Go buy some beachfront property in Hawaii? Like you just sold it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have it anymore. And now guess what? You're probably going to be working at Starbucks. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the point is now you've tied into that system of easy choice, hard life. So people are in Hawaii are like, no, that's our land. We live on the beach in Hawaii. We're good. Multi generations can live here. So we literally built our our company on that precepts. Um, so number one, we're gonna grow and farm heirloom Hawaiian sugarcane. Like what? No, you buy molasses or sugar as a commodity and you store it in your warehouse. It's cheap. It's easy. You don't have
Right.
to worry about anything. Like farm? Like that's crazy. Two is we're going to actually have a still. We're actually going to distill. Like, no, plenty of people are making rum. There's all kinds of bulk rum on the market. It's fantastic. There's really, 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 really good rum out there. Buy some of this rum and do whatever you want with it, right? We do actually, as part of our blending program, we do that. That's the truth. You don't fire up your own distillery. Don't start the first distillery on the Big Island. That's going to take God knows how much money and years and heartache and gray hairs and no hairs and right? And then 3 is put in the additives. Make it taste exactly the way you want it
Right.
to taste. You're allowed to do this with rum. People want gold rum. They want dark rum. They want coconut. The market is there. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And we're like, no to all of those things. So those were the
Mhm.
hard choices, but we thought they were the hard choice because the easy life means we're going to have a product that nobody else can make, and it's going to be vastly different. And we thought, to your point, when you open this, is that that is where the market was headed. We think,
Mhm.
and we think that world is upon us today, where people know exactly how stuff is made, and they know exactly the difference. And so that's what we're trying to do is steer it and keep it in that sweet spot that allows us to enjoy the easy life part, right? Which means we have to continue to make hard decisions, but that's how you win the awards. That's how your brand grows when the market is shrinking.
I love that. How, I think that it comes through in the quality of the product, that those hard choices that you've made. And so it's made your life easier in a lot of the marketing, advertising, pushing it out into the market. There's almost a pull effect. I'm curious,
Yeah.
in that regard, what have you seen? Because you're right, there's the easy way would be to just market the crap out of it, right? I mean, like that's what everybody else does. You've taken this approach, and I always find it interesting to see how people land on this. But you're like, no, we're just going to make a phenomenal product that people are going to get behind, and then it's going to be a lot easier to sell that. Tell me, what has that been like? What are you seeing? How is that playing out in the marketplace?
Yeah, that's a really, really, really hard decision to stick to. And so I would say for anybody building a business, surround yourselves with people that completely agree with that and are going to fight to the death that the product has to be world class before you release it, period. Because the temptation to release it and to start generating revenue and to start making the investors happy or whatever you need to do to pay the rent is incredibly hard. And you've got to just insist it has to be better. And because the market's going to know. And so we
Yeah.
were lucky enough to have people on our team, including our board and investors, that just insisted on having a world-class product, period. And so that was awesome. And one of them, for example, was the founder of High West. David Perkins joined us at
Nice.
pre-launch, and he had done this with
Wow.
whiskey. He's just like, whiskey is going to be way better. And he started blending different whiskeys together. And at first, blended whiskey meant you were cutting it, right? It literally meant you were putting in GNS into it, grain neutral spirit into it, to sort of add 20% by volume and add a little bit of sugar and flavors to make up for that. And now you got a blended whiskey. And so that was kind of a dirty word, when I was in college and a waiter. But what he did is he started not making blended whiskey, but blending whiskeys and creating these incredible things. And so he's, he insisted that everything we do. And so that was great to give the freedom, and then my founding partner, Charlie, is the same way. It's just like, it has to be awesome, period. And
Mhm.
so that's probably the most important step. And then, to try and fund yourself so you can make it through that part is exceedingly difficult, right? And that's basically
Yeah.
what my job is now, is to just keep funds rolling, and so we can keep doing this.
There are so many hard choices you've made, um, in building out this business, and it's leading to this wonderful life. I think that you've mentioned a number of those now. I'm curious though how your life is easier. Can you illuminate some? I mean, obviously you live in Hawaii. Like, come on, that's
It's not, yeah,
remarkable. But
it's not easier, but what makes, I mean, it is, like, without being too woo woo, on a soul basis, it's easier,
Mm.
right? Because you're at
Ah,
peace.
yeah,
You're doing everything that you can do, and you're doing the right thing.
yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you're happy to wake up and work hard. Your bucket gets filled up knowing that you're doing the best possible thing that you could be doing. And so that's what I mean by easy life. It's not like we don't have challenges. It's not like everything, we just get to hang out at the beach all day and do whatever we want. It's the point is that if you go back to that land philosophy, if you're keeping that land, the reason why you're keeping that land is so multi generations can live together. It might not be glamorous. It might not stack up on Instagram where your house has got 3 generations. But I'll tell you what, when your mom or somebody gets Alzheimer's, it's all good because you got this property and there's people around and it's fine, right? You don't have to go look for some housing situation that's now turned into this crazy Western nightmare of trying to, how are you going to take care of your poor mom now because it doesn't work in the way that each person is supposed to be in charge of their own household. And so that's where it becomes easy life. It's like we're all just going to take care of each other and we're just going to live on this piece of land that our families own for X amount of generations. So that's what easy means. Easy means you can go to sleep at night.
Do you I I know that you're like, I don't want to be too woo woo. There are a number of business owners that have subscribed to some form of what I call conscious capitalism. I put myself in that boat. Do you have business owners that you're doing this as a reflection of, like you're following their leadership, or was this something that has been a spiritual journey for you that you came to, like, hey, I just want to make the world a better place? How did you arrive at that? Because there are so many people that it's like, I show up to a job and it's a job and it pays the bills and it's fine. And then there are other people that are like, I want to start a business to make more money. And I'm feeling a connection between you and I, Steve, where I'm like, no, there's a reason why we start business, and it's to make the world a better place. But I'm curious what the inspiration was and is for you in that regard.
It's just I'm just wired that way where it's like that Pink Floyd song, right? If you how can you eat your meat if you don't have your how can you eat your pudding if you don't eat your meat, right?
Yeah.
It's what your parents tell you, but the point is like that's when it gets good. And so you have to if you know that doing the thing that's right is the thing that's going to feed you, it's a form of greed. I'm being selfish. It just makes me happier. And so I think that's the point. And to be totally honest, that's what the word Kuleana means. So Kuleana is not a good marketing word for a spirits company for a number of reasons. Um, if you're gonna sell it outside of Hawaii, people don't know what Kuleana means. They probably can't pronounce it. There's only 13 letters in the Hawaiian alphabet. There's 3 rum companies from Hawaii. They all start with K, right? So it's just like there's a number of reasons why you shouldn't be doing that. And then if you're from Hawaii, Kuleana is a very heavy word. It's this value of reciprocity that comes with responsibility. So it's it's the rights and the privileges that you get, that you receive if you're willing to be responsible for something.
Mm,
And the hidden message in there, or the context, the implicit context in that is everything in a community has a corresponding kuleana. Every resource does. So you can't own a person, you can't own land, but you can have the kuleana for that person. You can have the kuleana for that land. And if you aren't taking that kuleana and making that resource more valuable for your community, then the kuleana is given to somebody else. Because as a society, you can't afford to have land that isn't providing for its community, right?
yeah.
If you're an island nation, this is it. This is us. So that's that hard choice, easy life. That's where that came from. It's because we're an island nation, right? There's no Costco's back in the day, right? There's no airplanes. Nobody's like checking in, like, hey, looks like that was a mean storm in 1200. Let's go see how people are doing. Like they didn't even know Hawaii was here.
Right.
So, so that's sort of how I'm wired, and I think a lot of people are, and I think humans in general are. And I
Yeah.
think we all sort of want to be that way, and we all have our different versions of it, and that's why I kind of kid with that Pink Floyd song, but I'm also not really kidding. Like, that's just somebody yelling at their kid about dinner time, which we've all been through. But the point is like, you got to do the work in order to enjoy the good stuff. You can't live on pudding, bro. It's just like
Yeah.
you got to get some protein, right? It's just the truth. And so if you can offer a product and if you can, you know, keep it fun and if you can do it in a way that people can still participate in the right way of doing things. This is why I was saying the small companies and the big companies aren't at odds. If you can actually scale that so it becomes a gigantic business, that's my actual ulterior motive in all this. So the thing that really feeds me is what if we could create a company with $1 billion valuation that's making, you know, millions and, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sales because they're value based. And that puts more pressure on them to keep their values high and to keep, because the only reason why they're successful is because they're making this explicit promise to people about how they're going to actually, you know, regeneratively farm and they're going to make sure there's no, you know, things, whatever the pillars of that company's product are. Then my thought is if you can get a higher, if you can get better ratings, which is the easiest thing you can do, and more company, you know, approvals, but then if you can get higher profit margins and you can actually have it be a better business, a stronger business because of that, and you're not spending a bunch of money on marketing, so your profit margins stay better, and so therefore the returns for the investors are higher. They're like, we want you going this way, guys. Like, let's stop doing the easy
Mhm.
choice, hard life thing. Let's stop just starting with the cheapest stuff we can find and tricking people into making it as tasty as possible. And let's just decide we're going to make it awesome from the beginning because we're going to make more money. And so I kind of call that like, if you can get wolves, because wolves are wolves, right? There's wolves in our community, right?
Oh, totally.
People are out there, they want to hunt, they want to win, period. If we can get them working for the herd instead of eating the herd, then we're all winning, right?
Yeah.
So you got to keep them busy. And so the point is yeah, let's get those profit margins high. Let's get the, you know, P&E, you know, returns, whatever. Let's have it be an awesome, vibrant business, but because it's values. And that way other people just start choosing values because they know that actually that's the easiest thing to do. So that's really my goal, is that we could show that in almost any environment you can actually do better if you're value based.
I love that. I totally agree, man. And I think there are examples all over the world of doing good, thinking about your customer first as being the way that actually leads businesses to phenomenal growth. It is more challenging in the beginning, but it's more rewarding in the end. I know that you're doing all of that, and that's fabulous. And you're still marketing the product and you're still advertising the product. What are you finding as far as a channel that's yielding the best results? Because not only do you sell, you know, direct through retailers, you're also selling online. You're shipping to 47 different states. Like, what is working for you all right now to really push the brand forward and get it into the hands of more consumers?
Yeah, honestly, for us, it's additive free.
That's
We're
it. Just
making
that
this
one
additive,
that one phrase across the
we're
board.
making this additive free spirit. And the reason why that's
Yeah.
so powerful is because when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to remember, like the categories for spirits were such that like scotch was it.
Yeah.
And then there was lesser grades of whiskey, and then vodka was for women, and you know,
Yeah, yeah.
the soft people drank wine and kids drank beer. And then that's sort of, and then as we got older, then maybe 20, 30 years ago, then the categories started to change where it became very clear categories driven by the companies that were producing. So there's like bourbons, and then there's scotch, and then there's tequila, and there's vodka, and there's rum, and there's these different things. And so they were all competing for the space in people's heads in order to get them to order this kind of drinks. But rum is going to be this tropical, sweet, sugary thing, and scotch is going to be for the nerds, and bourbon is going to be for the American hard workers, and whatever. And so it got divvied up that way. I don't really see kids thinking that way, and of course they're not going to adopt their parents' way of thinking that was fed to them
Sure.
through marketing efforts. So what I think people care about is is this spirit, because at the end of the day, alcohol is this very natural thing that's made by yeast from waste agricultural products. So whenever you have an abundance of an agricultural product that you don't know what to do with, it turns into a spirit, whether you meant to or not. Well, it turns into a beer or a wine, whether you meant to or not. And then highly intentionally, somebody takes that not very good beer and turns it into whiskey, or takes that not very good wine and turns it into a brandy. So that's how it got started.
Yeah.
And there continues to be waste agricultural products as part of agriculture, right? Because that's the key to why humans are running the planet, is because we control all the sugar on the planet. So that means we're going to be very careful. So instead of competing in those buckets that were predefined, is instead we're just like, what if you could have an additive-free spirit that's made with all the flavors of this beautiful plant, right? The sugarcane plant, which is unbelievably delicious and beautiful looking. And what if you could just have it from that and nothing else, and not put in any additives? And oh, by the way, we can grow it regeneratively. We're actually making the land healthier and healthier every year because it's sequestering more and more carbon, and all the microbes and all the bacteria are getting healthier and healthier in the ground because we're not burning it and we're not putting, not cyanide. What did they put? Arsenic in the ground and all these other things. And everything's just getting better. And then meanwhile, we got to retell the story of how the Hawaiians and the Polynesians before them are the ones that developed this plant for thousands of years and shared it over half the globe, before Westerners were enlightened. And it's just like, bro, this stuff already happened while you guys were, where you guys were sitting there clubbing each other over the head and dying of cholera.
That's right.
The Moana movie was in full swing. And like it was kind of cool, right? And so it's
Yeah.
just a cool perspective. And it's just like we all have something really cool to offer. And so I think I lost the question, but I think I'm close to answering it. But
No, you did great. I think it's interesting, Steve, because there is this, I can even say this for my parents. They travel abroad quite a lot when they go to Europe. I mean, this is like just a common thing that
right.
both of my parents will say. They're like, "Hey, we go to Europe, we drink more wine, we eat more food, we lose weight."
I mean, honestly, that is Kuleana right there. The point is you put in the work, you're learning, you're exploring, you're burning some brain cells, enjoy yourself. But if you're sitting on
Yeah,
the couch and you're not doing anything and you're tuning beers, like you're going to run into some trouble, right? In bags of snacks. So
yeah.
agreed.
I think that there's a growing awareness that the food and beverages that we're consuming in the States in particular is not of the highest quality. It's got all these additives into it. It's part of the reason why, people wake up feeling like crap, like they're, because of the food that they're eating, there's dyes, there's additives, there's all these other things. And so I can totally see that the additive free as a tagline is just pushing the marketing thing forward in a
Right.
really dynamic way. I don't see that ending. I feel like there's going to be an
No,
even more
I like additives.
robust. Yeah, right,
I mean,
right.
I don't know if you know what's going on with tequila, but the federal government of Mexico has said it's illegal for tequila brands to identify themselves as additive free. And by illegal, it means that they said they will confiscate your tequila if you say that it's additive free. And the point is with tequila, you're allowed to do 1%.
Okay.
With with rum, you're allowed to do 2.5%. So
Wow.
rum is 2.5 times what tequila can do as far as additives without disclosure. When I say you're allowed to do, it means without disclosure. So you
Wow.
can call it 100% blue agave when there's not 100% in there. It has to be 99% and then it's okay. So there's a lot of big brands that have been built that are kind of famous in luxury that have sugar and caramel
Sure.
coloring in them. And the kids
Wow.
immediately figured this out because they got the internet and they're just like, nope, canceled, right? So
Yeah.
that's the point. So additive free is now it's a way of making a product that transcends. So I call it a macro category. So I think that's the macro category that's developing, is people just say, no, we're tired of this. We're not doing this anymore, right? And this is how we want it. Like, I don't know if you've been in Japan. I was lucky enough to go there recently. They have 7-Eleven there. I guess they bought the name. I'm not exactly sure it works. I'm very ignorant, so no, please don't flame Dave email box for this for me getting it wrong. But they'll have snacks and stuff in 7-Eleven that are incredibly like healthy and wholesome and it's just like it's the same thing. Like you can get a little snack for like effectively $2, $3, and
Wow.
it's this super delicious, freshly prepared sandwich or musubi or these different things. So the point is they're just like added. No, we're not doing that. It's like it's not even part of the culture. And
Yeah.
yet they can still pull off the convenience, they can still pull off the inexpensive, they can still pull off the fun and tasty. So I think that's what we realize is that like, the hard choice, easy life thing becomes obvious. If you're willing to invest in it, you realize, oh, it's actually easier, right? Because now I don't got to hunt down additives, right? I don't got to like chase the fact that this additive is now illegal and now I got to go find a new additive to replace it. It's like, why if we just let the food be food instead? It's maybe that's easier.
One of the things that have impressed me by every time we've chatted, Steve, is you're always thinking ahead. So as we're sitting here recording this in the middle of 2025, where is Kuleana going in the next 5, 10 years? How are you thinking about the industry and where you're taking the distillery moving forward?
There's this really good book called Crossing the Chasm. Um, and the chasm is getting from the people that are already in the same boat you're in. That I call it buckets, right? I got to stop doing these mixed and triple analogies on top of people, but I'm going to stick to the crossing the chasm thing. The early founding people, they're easy to get on board, right? There's plenty of bartenders that already get what great rum can be like because they've traveled. Most consumers are never going to do that. So we can get them, and that's great. And we can have an okay brand, but we're never going to be a huge brand until we've captured the public mainstream. So if we could get this thinking that a lot of people seem to enjoy and get excited about being thoughtful, it also, to be honest, like you got to be in a financial stability situation where you can even do this, right? So sorry about that. And you've got to have a certain level of comfort where you can make harder choices with what you're going to spend your money on. So to answer your question, I'd like this to be mainstream thinking where we built this company that's now so big that it's pervasive and it's just like everybody's like, of course this is the way we're going to do it. Like, why would you this doesn't make any sense. And so ideally, I want the big companies going like, what's our plan? Like, this is the future. People are already doing it. They've got a huge lead on us. What are we going to do to sort of change the way that we do that? So I want to be sort of the one of the one of the you know harbingers of change that people have to respond to.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. Well, Steve, I appreciate you being on today and sharing some of your insights. If people want to check you out more, if they want to check out Kuleana, how can they go to do that?
Obviously, the website's the best, kuleanarum.com. We are in 14 states, so if you ask your bartender whether they've heard of us or whether they haven't, that would be fantastic. Um, and if you come to Hawaii, you've got to come to the Big Island and check it out. We've got a farm, 45 acres on the ocean. I was born and raised here, and I can say with 100% confidence, it's one of the most beautiful spots on the planet. So it's definitely worth a visit. We've got our own distillery, and then we've got a bar and restaurant called the Kuleana Rum Shack, where we do all kinds of really cool stuff, and people can interact with it and learn and try cool cocktails and great food and just learn about sugarcane and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I invite everybody to come experience it as much as you can. And thanks for the opportunity, Dave. I really like what you're doing with the podcast, and wish you the best luck. But as far as I'm concerned, you're on the right track. So it's just a matter of keeping doing that because obviously it's working.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you for being on the podcast and thank you for running unicorn campaigns.